Well, welcome viewers. Welcome to another yet exciting edition of Wired Women. And with me in the studio, I have an inspiring and amazing guest, Christine. I'll let her introduce herself. Christine, welcome to the show.
Hi, Jennifer, and thank you so much for having me as a guest. So I'm the co-founder of a company called Succession Plus UK, but I'm also an author. I've now written 5 business books, one of which you can see right behind me. And it's been an interesting journey. My writing journey has been very interesting.
Wow, that's amazing. I would like to learn more about the books that you're writing, because you're not just an author of one book, but several books. But before we go into that, I would like to know a little bit about your personal self. Who's Christine as a person? Because obviously our viewers would be interested to know you as a person other than what you do. So would you mind sharing with our viewers?
No, not at all. I think that's an interesting comment. We often say, hi, this is my name and this is what I do. And actually that doesn't necessarily reflect you as a person. Most people would be surprised. I'm an introvert by nature, but I come across as very extroverted. My journey has been hugely varied. I left school, I went to work for a bank. I had 5 years in the military. And then when I came out of the military, I then started getting my business education. And I went to work for an incredibly entrepreneurial family. And I learned all my lessons through the good and the bad and the ugly of what might happen to you in a business. And literally everything in that family company happened to me over a period of time. And after 5 years of doing that, I then started what I call my first grown-up business. That was where you took all the lessons and realized that you were going to make all your own mistakes. So you can learn lessons and still make the mistakes, even though you know that you should be doing better or should be doing things differently. And the things that I learned in my own businesses, I now apply to other businesses. And that's what I do for a living. But my real passion is for education and support. So my entrepreneurial journey was very unusual, and I had the support of great mentors. And as a result, I now have a passion for paying forward everything that they gave me on my journey, whether they were personal mentors or whether they were business mentors, and mostly they were a bit of both. But I feel like I have had my current position has really been driven by standing on the shoulders of, to me, heroes and giants. But to the outside world, they're just normal, ordinary people. And if I can just reflect even a fraction of what has been given to me by those people, I'll feel like I've lived a very blessed and gifted life.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for that. I completely agree with you on that one, because there's a lady that does some coaching. I think she's called Bold Heart, and she's really literally a person who really talks about standing on the shoulders of giants, and that most people, that's the biggest mistake that they make in life. They think they can go it alone. And in my country, as we say, no child is an island. I would simply apply that to say no business is an island. You cannot survive on your own. You have to be surrounded by people that lift you up and support you. So absolutely agree on that.
I have a favorite saying, and it's, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Go together.
And that really is particularly entrepreneurial. A lot of people get stuck in their business because they can't relinquish things. Actually, they might get stuck in life because they can't delegate things or work in collaboration with people, because they think, oh, if I give that to someone else, then I'll be diminished. And actually, my experience, if you start working with other people from the perspective of collaboration rather than competition, then you multiply rather than add. And that's where you go from here to hear,
Yeah.
and their wider impact is felt.
Absolutely. I completely agree with that, because obviously I know most people think like if you collaborate, you're competing. Oh, should I hide my secrets, or should I tell people what I'm doing, stuff like that. When in actual facts, you get more united when you're together, you stand together. So thank you so much for that insight. So I guess it's not even something, it's not guesswork. Nobody has to guess what it is, what is the main traits that you have as an entrepreneur, as a business person, because I think you've just literally nailed it, that you're a collaborator, that you're a person who believes in working with other people. But I want to hear it in your own words. What would you say would be that one main attribute that that is consistent in your toolbox, so to speak, in your superpower toolbox that you use and apply in your business and everyday life?
I mean, my personal trait, the thing that I apply to myself, so the tool that I get out every day and apply to myself, is just sheer bloody mindedness.
Yeah.
And just tenacity. Mm-hmm. It's about every day getting up, dressing up, showing up, and actually, even if it's just a small impact, mm-hmm. it's about making an impact every single day. So that's my internal thing. That's the thing I do to myself every day. Mm-hmm. In terms of the things that I get out of the toolbox and give to other people, is really about belief, and it's about giving them a safe space to challenge their own beliefs, challenge their own assumptions, ask the right questions, and then help them get to the answer that's right for them. There's no point in me telling people what to do. I mean, obviously, as a consultant, I do that. But you get a much better result from people if you actually give them the space and environment to help them get the best result from them, so that it comes from within. Mm-hmm. What we do is we help people achieve their potential. So I don't just run a business and write books. I'm also a mentor, mm-hmm. And have been for many years. And the real thing is listening. I mean, that the biggest tool across all of the things that I do, from consulting to writing to mentoring, the biggest thing is actually listening to people. Because most of the people that I speak to, most of the clients that we engage with, it's probably the first time that anyone's really listened to them.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for that. Obviously, that's why I'm very passionate about wired women, because I always believe that the women that I have conversation with are so wired. That is a natural coding that they have. They are coding. They're coded in such a way that they have external antennas that, they're always listening out to what's around them, surrounding them, and they're paying attention, and they're living in the moment to hear what other people need and need to get from them, or need to be served with. So thank you for that. So what I'm hearing you say, in terms of your personal attributes, you were saying that that you have to be bloody minded. So for people that are not British, can you please unpack what it is to be bloody minded, and then we'll move on to the other thing you said about your business attribute.
So, bloody mindedness is, I hadn't appreciated actually how colloquial that phrase was until I've lived in several different countries now. And so typically bloody mindedness is just a commitment to an outcome, no matter what is in front of you. Mm. So, and finding a way. So it's just having that tenacity, that engagement with the goal, that it doesn't matter what the blockages or barriers are, you find a way over, or you find a way round, or you find a way under, right. Or you just smash the obstacle to pieces, whatever is the most appropriate for your particular set of circumstances.
Yeah, and I think if it's not inappropriate, I think that you have shown that kind of tenacity. Prior, when we had our pre-show conversation, I know that you recently just lost a loved one to COVID, God forbid, and you have come out of that still very strong, and there you are still standing, and that's kind of like just goes to show that you practice what you preach. Do you want to share a little bit with our viewers how you've managed to come out of that? I know it's not going to be immediate that you come out of that, because this happened very recently, but I know that it's a process. And how are you dealing with that?
So I think this is where you have to think about what the relationship meant, and then really think about how can I best serve and respect what that relationship meant. And so is the memory of that relationship, or is the memory of that person served by staying in bed and feeling sorry for yourself? Well, actually, if they were stood here right now, what would they be saying about that behavior? Because don't get me wrong, there is a place for grief, and I'm currently in the place of grief where I'm not really feeling anything.
You feel numb, isn't it?
Yeah. And because actually there's so much else going on, and then there will be times when it feels more raw. But I still consider it as it's just like I've been given a great gift, and the fact that it's been taken away doesn't make it any less of a gift.
Yeah.
And while I had it, I'm really pleased that I appreciated it.
Yeah.
And I can continue to appreciate it from here on in, because it's something that has fundamentally changed my life. And that actually is a great thing.
Yeah.
If you think about it, how many people really truly come into your life and change it, and change it for the better? And so there's so many things to be grateful for. And I think if you can focus on the things that you can be grateful for, then and actually life tends to have a whole lot more joy in it. And don't get me wrong, most people's lives are actually full of small moments of joy, but they're just so fleeting, and you're just not present enough to appreciate them.
Yeah.
And it takes losing something really important to you for you to appreciate all of the other things, as well as the thing that you had. So and I think I'm just pre-programmed anyway to always look at what I've got and what I've had, as opposed to what I might have lost.
Yeah.
Because actually most things are fleeting. Life is short, and you really have to be present today. You know, you really have to be in the now, because I mix in an environment which is very future driven, very future led. And sometimes you can be so busy chasing the tomorrow that you forget to enjoy the today.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that very emotive subject, I know, on your part, and it wasn't intentional for me to be insensitive, but thank you so much for sharing that. And I do appreciate, you need to be mindful, and you need to be present in the now and appreciate the things. And then most of the guests that I've spoken to, it's about having that attitude of gratitude, isn't it? And knowing and embracing everything that you have at that particular moment, and just appreciating it, really. So thank you so much for that, Christine. So going on to your attributes for business, because I know you're a fearless, badass female entrepreneur, and I know that you want to talk about your business. So talking about the attributes you just kind recently shared in terms of your business about, mentoring other people. And also, I think you mentioned being present for your clients and showing up and letting them know that you are there to serve them. So I really like the idea of clients looking at them and understanding where they're coming from and listening to them intently. I think that's the word you use, the key word, listening to their situation and understanding, so that you're able to serve them best, because then you know where they're coming from. So that was really, really amazing as well. Thank you for sharing that. So fast forward, if we were to look at your younger self, let's say pre-author days, because I know you're an author of 5 books. So I think, did I get that right? Yeah. Okay. So pre-authoring your books, what would you say to your younger self? What sort of advice would you give to Christine then?
Oh, wow. Despite what I've just said about listening to clients and things, the big thing I would say is don't listen to the naysayers, and don't listen to people who tell you what you can't do.
Yeah,
because they are just projecting their own fears and limitations.
Yeah.
I would have written my book 20 years previously.
Wow.
If I had listened to, if I hadn't, to some people. And now I look back and I think, well, okay, so 20 years, I've got a lot more experience, etc. But I could easily have written my first book 20 years ago. I had the knowledge then. I just didn't really appreciate that it was a message that other people wanted to hear and needed to hear, and that I could articulate. And my first book I actually wrote for one specific client. And it was only after I wrote it that I thought, oh, this would actually be really good in print. So I basically put it together as a toolbox for a client. And then after I'd written it and got it printed, an accountant picked it up and said, wow, this would be great for all my clients, and bought a box of them. And then another accountant bought a box of them. And I was like, whoa, I had kind of thought of this as a bit of a vanity project.
Yeah.
But now I get, every month I get my commission check from Amazon.
Wow.
So, and when I go to live speaking events, so pre-COVID, I always used to take my books with me, and I would sell them, but I would donate the proceeds to charity. Because then it always felt like I wasn't giving them my book away, which is one of the things I was told, never give your book away. Yeah. Actually, you know what? Giving your book away to potential clients, it's the best and most effective business card that you are ever going to have. So don't listen to the naysayers. The second thing is almost linked, which is actually believe in yourself. Because I tell myself every day, you know what, you've got this. Because there is nothing anybody is going to throw at me today that is going to kill me. And I use that physically. I mean, if I step in front of a car, of course, but nobody in my environment is going to be, they couldn't possibly make my life worse in any physical way. So, when I get up in the morning, I know exactly what I'm going to be doing that day. I've already planned it the day before, and I just have to believe I've got it. Yeah. And I wish I'd used that mantra again 20 years ago. And I live a life with no regrets. Trust me, I know I'm right where I need to be to do exactly what I need to do to feel that I'm serving my own needs as well as everybody else's. And the third thing that I would say is put the oxygen mask on yourself first.
Yes. I like that.
And it's an easy thing to say, and it's not such an easy thing to do, particularly for women, because for some reason, it's almost like we come out of the womb and, almost the first psychological vibration we feel is to be of service to others. I'm making some sweeping generalizations here, but it is always to think of everyone else first and yourself second. Well, all I can say is that for anybody who's listening to this, is that when I say put the oxygen mask on yourself first, I really mean it. And I mean to do that to myself. And I have to remind myself to do it to me, because the temptation is so easy to be for someone else, to give to everybody else except yourself first. But if you are not serving your own needs, then everything that you give to everyone else, you are drawing from a well that is going down and down and down and down and down. And eventually the bucket is empty and it's hitting rock bottom. The fourth thing I will say is, after all of those three things, if you haven't done any of those and you do hit rock bottom, then number 4 is rock bottom is a great foundation on which to build.
Yep. Yeah.
But because once you've got there, hell, you ain't got anywhere else to go except up.
Yeah, so, up. Yeah. Amazing. So what I'm hearing you saying is, if I can remember all the amazing nuggets that you just shared, but when you were talking about the fact, don't listen to naysayers, the first thing, the quotation that came to mind was that of Maya Angelou. She talks about, a lot of people can have dreams, but most people don't materialize those dreams. They don't let those dreams come to pass. And she said that there is no greater agony than bearing an untold story. But she also talks about the graveyard would be a very rich place. It's the richest place, because that's where all the companies that have failed to take off, because they've just ended up in the visionary's mind, and or any other things, the stories that have never been told have just ended up in our minds. So obviously I love storytelling, so that was very, very pertinent to me when you were talking about that. But I also just heard you talking towards the end, that you were talking about the well, and if you're drawing from without, and what you were saying is true, because if you're drawing from without and you're empty, you don't have any self-care, you don't have any you're not filled, and you can't give out what you don't have. So it's not about being selfish, it's about taking care of yourself so that you've got a place which is filled, that you can draw from to give to others. So thank you so much for sharing that. That is just so insightful. And so in terms of going forward and current position where you're at with your business, like if somebody wanted to ask you, what is it that keeps you going? What is it that keeps you stay afloat? So we've talked about the foundation. We've talked about the journey that you've been on so far. But obviously with any business, you've got to have a sustainability plan. So what is it, you as Christine, that keeps, what is the attribute or the thing that you keep on doing that keeps your business afloat? What would you say to our viewers about that?
You absolutely have to love what you do. And I don't mean get out of bed and think, yeah, this is an all right thing to do. You have to love it.
Yeah.
Because passion will drive you forward. But it'll only drive you forward if you have a passion for it and it pays. Now, I've seen so many people who have passion for something and then they charge so little for it that they're constantly kind of scrabbling around for money and resources. And people will often say to them, oh, this is great, you're undercharging. Well, if people are saying that to you, put your prices up, but passion alone will not feed you. It might feed your soul, but it ain't going to feed you physically, and it's going to drain you. It's going to be part of that giving from the well. So the whole well scenario isn't just about taking personal care of yourself and taking of your body and your mind. It is about your wealth being. I always think that the part of being human involves your health being, your wealth being, and your well-being.
Yeah.
And well-being, heart and mind, your mental state. Health being your physical body, and your wealth being is making sure that you've got the right business and business model. And I live and breathe that. So with the company that I co-founded with my business partner last year, Succession Plus UK, we literally help business owners get the most out of their life's work. People who've sacrificed everything to build their business into something meaningful and are now thinking, what happens when I'm not in it? And we help the business owner separate themselves from the business so they can go on and do other things. But it means that the business owner then enjoys his next phase of life.
Yeah.
The business also enjoys its next phase of life with its next leaders and the group of leaders. And when you see that separation happens, and you see the two things, the business owner and the business entity both thriving without each other, that is the kind of thing that makes my soul sing, because then we're talking about people leaving a legacy, being rewarded for everything that they've put into it, and then being able to sit back and enjoy whatever it is that they're doing now and say, you know what, I built that. I was there right when that was just a seed, and now it's a tree that's going to feed the stakeholders, the employees, the suppliers, the customers for generations to come. So instead of having a 5-year plan, you can start having a 100-year vision. And how much more satisfying is that?
Yeah.
To know that you'll have something that lasts more than the small time that you have here on Earth.
I like that a lot, because living a legacy, I think it's bigger than ourselves. It's about the lives that you touch, because if your thinking is so limited to the here and now, then it's just going to feed you and your immediate family, if that. But if you're thinking about living a legacy, then it can feed a whole nation. It can feed generations to come. Good example is Johnson & Johnson. As a brand, I don't know why I picked that up, but it's the brand that comes to mind. And, they've been caring for mothers and children for hundreds and hundreds of years. You can't even forget that type of legacy. We don't even know who founded Johnson, for goodness sake. But here we are having a conversation about them. And that's a sort of legacy that I think entrepreneurs need to have a mindset for. So I'm so glad that your company coaches people to do that. And I think a lot of our viewers would really benefit from this kind of conversation and insight. So having said that, we want our viewers to continue to thrive. We want our viewers to continue to benefit from these conversations further beyond the 25 minutes that we give them in this conversation. So how would they be able to find you, Christine, if they went out to look for you?
Okay, well, good old-fashioned Google. If you Google Succession Plus UK, you'll find our website. You can contact me directly. My Succession Plus contact details are cnicholson@successionplus.co.uk. Equally, you can go and find any of my books if you type Christine Nicholson into that other great search engine, Amazon, and you'll find 3 of my 5 books published there. The other 2 are coming online soon, and later this year, actually, my next book should be out. So just type Christine Nicholson into the Amazon toolbar.
Amazing. And of course, you're on LinkedIn as well, so they can find you there as well. So amazing. It is such a joy, such a breath of fresh air to talk to. And I would like to hear more and more about what you do and about your books. And I'm definitely going to look up your books as well.
Thank you.
Because it looks like there's something for everyone there. It's been such a pleasure talking to you, Christine. I've really been privileged to have this conversation with you, and look forward to having more and more insightful conversations with you in the near future. Thank you for joining the Wired Women Tribe.
Thank you, Jennifer, for having me as a guest. It's been a pleasure. So thank you.